It's time. What is up, Bat Family? Great to see your faces again. Welcome to a brand new The Batman Update video as usual, but today we're kind of doing a boatload of TV spots and trailers, basically. There is stuff, and I know I say this every single time, but the stuff that we've got to talk about is as new as last night are insanely detailed and will get your hype generated. I just want to say, first of all, I have seen all of these new interviews, especially the whole cast interview. I will be looking to do a breakdown of that soon. Don't worry about that. It's just on top of Batman content on the channel. I've had other things like, Peacemaker reviews and whatnot to do during the week. So it's kind of hard when you're a one-man band to balance everything. But just to stress, this video we're going to get into the Wingsuit, how that unlocks. They gave that away. May as well talk about it since it's out there now, but holy crap, that was awesome. Falcone talking to Bruce Wayne. So many more scenes like him grapple hooking. I can't contain it. My mind is exploding. However, guys, I do want to say at this point, I'm not saying the TV spots include anything as random as Falcone shooting Andy Serkis' frickin' Alfred. However, what I do want to say is that the theories I may come up with now, I kind of want to issue a spoiler warning of, because that's how half confident, if that's even like a confident thing to say, I am with some of the things I might connect together. That doesn't mean I'm going to be right, but I do want to say with what we're going to break down today, with what we're going to get into, other than just also admiring it together, because some of the new footage includes more previews at Matt Reeves' Gotham City that he's forged. I want to nerd out about all of that with you, but some of the footage that we're going to get into with what I can piece together does make me think that what I'm kind of thinking could, connect the dots together. So just bear that in mind. Doesn't mean I'm right. Again, just want to stress that, but I just wanted to put it out there that if you're going to be like, baby, you spoiled the movie or parts of the movie before I saw the movie, screw you, then don't say I didn't warn you. Right before we get into the first TV spot and trailer, I want to give a big shout out to my channel members and patrons who helps basically fuel this content that I create, as much as this freaking caffeine is keeping me fueled right now. No, but really, I do appreciate each and every one of you, even if you just like one of these videos. So even if you're not a part of my Patreon or you're not a member of the channel, maybe even if you just like the video, that will go a long way. Sometimes people ask me, how does it help you so much, Berber? Believe it or not, liking the video and commenting, or even just liking, it helps me get promoted in the YouTube algorithm just that much more, and that is everything to smaller creators, because at the end of the day, I know I'm closing in on 100,000 subscribers now, but I'm sure you're all aware that is a speck of sand on the beach that is YouTube, with so many larger Titan channels out there. So again, love each and every one of you who go the extra mile by leaving a like and doing what you can to help me out. So first of all, we are going with the latest new TV spot, and the reason why I wanted to do that instead of going to the backlog of TV spots that I've got to cover is because this one is just so interesting. So what I'm going to do is kind of react with it at the same time on screen with you guys and go through it and then get to the other ones. This could be a long video because, yeah, there's quite a few TV spots.
New friend of yours?
Look at it! Look at it!
Sure. Looks like you upset her.
Looks like you upset her.
The bat and the cat.
Look at Gotham City! Look at Catwoman!
Let's get into some trouble. It'll be fun.
You got a lot of cats.
You got a lot of cats.
When I was
Look at
7,
Gotham!
my mother
I
was
love it!
murdered. Maybe we're not so different after all.
This is more dangerous than you know. Who knows how many people it touches?
Falcone, baby!
If we don't stand up, no one
Yes!
Selina, don't throw your life away.
will. Don't worry, honey. I got 9 of them. Don't you ever just say hello?
I've got chills down my spine. I know I've already seen it before, and as if I was reacting to it for the first time there, but it does feel like I am, because it's just that good. They're like, oh my god, like, okay, without me, I'm gonna really try hard to not tangent in this video, but, I'm already doing it, goddammit. When there's things like, Nolan's films, or what you can appreciate of every other Batman, or the Catwoman of Nolan's films, she was very Catwoman in various ways, but with what Matt Reeves is doing here, it's like, again, he's putting all the vital chips of Batman to try and forge this definitive Batman, and definitive Batman world, and thus also the characters around it, like Penguin, look how accurate he is. Selina, granted she isn't the Catwoman yet, just that shot, guys, when she's like coming out of her apartment, like it's just like from the comic books or the Arkham games or whatever. She would just like backflip kind of down the railings and stuff like that, and oh my god, I just like honestly goosebumps are like everywhere, even as I'm giving my own description on a scene we just saw. So right at the beginning of the trailer, we get a little bit of a look of Gotham City. I believe this is underneath, well, it's not underneath the bridge, but it's kind of like underneath like a rail line or something. Selina's on the bike. We get a lot of new looks at Gotham City. We see Selina coming in on the mayor's crime scene on the rope. That's how she first interacts with Batman. I know it sounds like I'm rushing this, but I do not want to waste time on stuff we've necessarily kind of seen before. We've seen this shot of the Batcave before, granted that this is a bit of a more high definition shot. You can tell that they finished a little bit of the effects there, like I've mentioned in previous videos, because there's bats scurrying around everywhere. They've added in the CGI train in the background that you couldn't necessarily see, and we get a bit of an extended fight between Batman and Catwoman, and I love the kind of exchange they have. It's almost like this stalemate, I guess you could say. I think that's what Matt Reeves was going for, because they get to that exchange of looks where they're just like, it normally cuts off by now, but then you see Selina just looking back even more, like they added in 2 more seconds, and it's just like, hey, you know, that look, it says everything without saying it literally, like, who are you? And clearly, whatever happens after this night, when we have Bruce kind of starting to get fascinated with this Catwoman, or burglar, if you will. We have Andy Serkis' Alfred, and I love what he says. He's just like, seems like you've upset her. He's kind of half smiling about it. Again, despite what we've heard about Alfred being a bit more desensitized from the war, and even Andy Serkis somewhat saying there's somewhat psychopathic-esque tendencies there, and that's not to be taken out of context or to be made out to be as hyperbolic as it really sounds in a literal sense. He's not a psychopath. Like, come on, guys, he's not. He's just saying, like, there is a bit of a difference to this Alfred, in where he might not be the gentle Michael Caine, like, oh, Master Wayne, you're right, mate, you're right. You know, it is a bit more like rough and gruff kind of thing, like an evolution, if you will, of Sean Pertwee's Alfred from Gotham, the ex-SAS British intelligence Alfred. Like, I dig this so much. So either way, it doesn't mean that what I was getting to the point of here is that he's not really personable with Bruce still. Granted that they're not as close as they once were or will be by the point of when Bruce gets out of this obsessive Batman mode. There's still, I want to point out just that clearly he's not like, hey Bruce, you know, I haven't spoken to you in 2 weeks. They're clearly, you know, bouncing off one another. It's not complete tone-deaf conversation. And this is where we get that look at Gotham City. And as we know from Matt Reeves, it's going to feel familiar to certain cities, that whether you live in New York or Chicago or friggin' Liverpool or Scotland. But that's the whole point. He's kind of, imagine like being a kid and just ripping out a part of a city that you have from a toy, and then you put it in another toy set city, and you get another toy set city, and you rip that chunk out of that quadrant, and you put it in this bit. Do you see what I mean? That's basically what he's done, and I love the skyline here and the brief look we get. You can clearly see whoever started developing Gotham, though, is a little bit of a silly Billy, only because you can see how it's basically below the sea level. So when Riddler is designing the multiple bombs on the waterfront there, you can literally see how it's literally submerged, but there's a wall stopping it off. Whereas obviously in real life, it's kind of like brought up. But here, if there was bombs happened to be detonating, you know, across, let's just say there was some random person who would just, I don't know, blow that up to kind of, you know, cleanse the city perhaps. Yeah, I think the city would flood, and you can see exactly how that's going to happen. Here, we get that shot of when, you know, Selina's like, the bat and the cat, it's got a nice ring to it. But no, really, we see Selina coming out of her apartment, and already, granted she's not Catwoman, that doesn't mean she doesn't have the acrobatic skills of just casually leaving her apartment. Hey, let's just go backwards down there and swing off the railings. That's absolutely superb, but Bruce is being a bit of a creeper here. He's in his drifter mode, and clearly he's doing a little bit more research into this woman. I think, he wants to find out who she is, but they are definitely going to include, it's maybe not just fascination, but he's also intrigued with her in the kind of way you might be thinking. Like, it's not going to be all about that, hey, I'm here to just look at how beautiful she is kind of thing, but there's definitely going to be aspects of that. There's going to be something alluring about this woman to him, and vice versa. Like, these two instantly will connect as of when that fight scene happens. Like, sure, when they first run into each other, it's like, boom, boom, who are you? And then it's like, oh, it was slow-mo almost in terms of their minds. And then, you know, they're from this moment onwards for the rest of their lives, until one of them dies, really, there's going to be a bit of a dance. But seeing that relationship in its infancy and Bruce go out in drifter mode is certainly fascinating to see. Again, I love the constant rain of Gotham City. It won't rain all the time in the film, we know that for a fact, but it seems in a lot of the nighttime it rains. We do have some day shots, as we know, like whether that's Commissioner Pete Savage addressing the press about the mayor's murder, or maybe there's other shots in this trailer that we will get to where there's not rain as well. But it seems like every time it's night, it's just like someone up there, whenever it's Gotham City, it's just like, yep, right, rain, 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 and then as soon as sunrise, no rain. We see that bat shot again, as we've seen in the other TV spots, but this time we get a little extended bit of Bruce looking at the bat saying, hello, mate, you know, oh, what do you think of my costume? I'm just like you. We get that whole, you got a lot of cats situation again, but a slightly different angle with Selina just being like, oh, I see what you did there. But granted, I do want to know how she gets the name Catwoman, because she's technically not called Catwoman. It's just she's got all of the characteristics of Catwoman, just in a prototype stage. So that's going to be interesting to see if maybe even the press give her the name of Catwoman, similar to that of the Batman. Again, as I just kind of let this play in between me talking to you guys, we see Gotham again, and I believe we even see Wayne Enterprises, Wayne Tower in the background there, and that's, it just looks so good. It looks so good. But we learn even more from Selina that when she was 7, her mother was murdered. So maybe we're not that different after all. This could be a trickery of the trailer where she does say a line like this, but what they've done is cut in very, very confident when she's like stroking his face. Maybe we're not so different after all. It's a line from another part of that conversation, so it's not actually related. But again, Selina's backstory is similar to traditional canon in various different iterations, I suppose you could say, where they were probably in a rough situation in Gotham anyway, her and her mother, when she was 7. And then when she died, Selina is literally out on the streets. Granted, you could say, why didn't she go into an orphanage? Maybe she could have even been a part of Gotham Orphanage, Wayne Manor, like Edward was. But Selina could have taken her own path where she just wanted to be homeless or something like that, and she slept on the streets with cats. And I think Zoe Kravitz has even said things like that as well. So you can see how she's seen the rough and gruff and worse of Gotham from as young as 7, which is pretty crazy. So that's why she's got so much breath and experience of breathing in Gotham City, so to speak, even compared to someone like that of Batman. And that's why I think Pattinson has even said as well, there's a lot that Batman knows about Gotham. Obviously, Gotham is Bruce's home as well, but there's a lot he hasn't realized and even taken granted of when he comes to talk to Selina and learns a lot more about different things, I suppose you could say. Now, in between that, we get some crime scene photos, and I believe, well, you know, that body being pulled out could be the commissioner, could be the mayor. It's really kind of not, you know, there's no point me wasting too much time on that. But we see the crime scene photo, I believe, of the mayor's crime scene. We see a little footprint there, and I believe that could be the mayor's kid, which is going to be really sad because he could step in his father's blood, maybe, and that could be why it's such a tiny little footprint there. And I think there's going to be a lot of relatability in this scene between Batman and the mayor's son, because we've got those Empire photos when the mayor's son is sat on the bed. And, you know, I've always wondered, and I spoke about this in a live stream the other day, imagine if Batman were to kneel down and say something to the kid. That in of itself as a concept is a wonderful thing to imagine, but again, in this film, I don't know if they would pull that off, because for all we know, if he did that, the kid would be terrified of, who is this guy? Why is he talking to me? So again, in one way, it sounds like a cool idea, but it might not actually happen. I do find it interesting when she said that her mother was murdered when she was 7, that there's a little blood spatter here where it looks like Riddler has got his little paint kind of thing and actually put the number 7 there through blood. Maybe he's saying he's got 7 more people to kill. I do believe it's unrelated to what Selina said. It's just a cool thing that the editor did for the trailer. But it does make me think, oh, maybe there are 7 targets. You know, the mayor, Commissioner Pete Savage, DA Gil Colson, Bruce Wayne, we know, is one of them. That's only 4. Am I forgetting someone? Maybe I am. I don't know, but you get my idea. But let me know if you have any ideas. We get a shot of Bruce in the penthouse of Wayne Tower. This is that environment. We do know it basically blows up at one part. We'll get to that in the other trailers, and I think that has something to do with Alfred. This is what I mean, guys, with possible theories that might end up being true, because we know when... I know I'm getting on a tangent already, but goddammit. When Bruce is saying to Alfred, all these years, Alfred, you lied to me. my whole life, he's in a hospital bed because we got a little bit of a wider shot. And it's not like he's gonna die, don't worry. It's just that Bruce wasn't there because little does Riddler know, I think, that he is actually Batman. So the bomb went off, but as we always know, Alfred is, helming Wayne Enterprises, and he's probably around about in that tower. And it could be related even to that scene of when Bruce is like, what have you done? And he asks it 3 times, which is interesting, so we've got other scenes of it in other trailers. They're not just different takes. Batman asks Riddler, like, kind of calmly at first, like, what have you done? And then I guess Riddler's just kind of playing and toying around like, hee, and he's like, what have you done? And then he's like, hee, and he's like, what have you done? And maybe that's when he clocks together like, Alfred. And then he runs there. And it's like, oh shit. And that's when we see Wayne Tower on smoke from the other TV spot. So you know what I mean? It's getting a little bit like, oh, we might be figuring out what's going on, but I also can't help myself at the same time. But I do want to reassure people, don't worry, this is still a 3-hour movie. So even though we may have cottoned on to some things, it doesn't mean that we know the whole bloody plot. This is where we hear Batman say that this is, more dangerous than him. Who knows how many people it touches? And I think maybe he's saying maybe the grander plan is more dangerous than him, the potential anarchy that could release in Gotham with exposing the corruption. Who knows how many people it touches could pertain to people following the Riddler, how many people that could appeal to, because clearly, even though Edward Nashton, the Riddler, is helming the banner of doing all of these mad things to expose the corruption, there are people resonating with it. They're holding Riddler banners and everything, so who knows how many people it touches. This is kind of more dangerous than him, but it could also mean something more literal, with the literal flooding of Gotham. Who knows how many people that could affect, which is insane. Like, there's imagine New York flooded, kind of, or Chicago, this is multiple cities combined into one, but you know what I mean. But I do think it could mean, like, the idea of this could inspire a lot more rebellion, if you will, from the streets of Gotham. Now, this next scene, guys, I remember that this was around the time when they were filming, and there were set photos of somewhat Halloween. And I love this shot. Oh my god, it's so Batman Year One, because we see Bruce in drifter mode walking amongst this crowd, and everyone seems to be getting into somewhat these Halloween costumes. Now, this is where references to other DC superheroes could be in there. We already know there's Metropolis, LexCorp out there from the prequel novel. Do recommend checking out my prequel novel video, by the way. It's a long one, but I do get into every single detail that you want to know about. But again, there will be people wearing costumes inspired by Superman, literally a Superman costume, but like a Halloween store outfit version, Wonder Woman. So that's awesome to know. And here we see some more citizens dressed up in really creepy outfits, but Batman's patrolling on that night, as he usually does every single night. Before he goes out as Batman, he goes like hooded up in his drifter mode, looking and waiting for a crime to happen. That's literally how he operates. And this shot is just amazing. Seeing drifter Bruce Wayne doing his routine. Up next, we see Falcone, and he's welcoming someone. And I believe we have the Carver twins to the right there. They're playing Falcone's guards, if you will. It seems like that's the case. And they're going to be these 2 goons who I think will be popping up quite a bit in the movie. When it comes to, like, the Iceberg Lounge location scenes in the movie, there'll be those 2 guys, if you know what I mean, who just keep popping up. But I believe he could be welcoming in Bruce Wayne here. You ask me why, we'll get to that in another trailer breakdown in a second. But this is the Iceberg Lounge offices, I believe. Again, Penguin is running it on behalf of Falcone. This Iceberg Lounge, as detailed by Zoe Kravitz herself, it is somewhat of a hub for the criminal underworld, larger-than-life characters, and this is where a lot of the business comes out of. Falcone is a recluse. He's not so much on the face. Oswald is one of his larger lieutenants, as we learn from the comic books, at least at that point in time. Losing my voice for all this commentary. He is working his way up to get to that point, but here, that's why Oswald, as you've seen in a lot of the other trailers, is one of the front faces, but Falcone is the guy behind the curtain. And this is the guy behind the curtain part because this is the private lounge or office, if you know what I mean. I think he could be introducing Bruce here. I do have quite a big theory that this is when Falcone, as per the other trailer, will drop to Bruce that, yes, Thomas Wayne was a good man, but you'll be surprised what a good man is capable of, and it will dawn upon Bruce through Falcone revealing to him that Thomas Wayne basically may have turned a blind eye to me and Maroni back when you were 10 years old in an effort for him to secure his mayoral campaign. And long story short, Thomas Wayne might have felt like he could do more good becoming mayor, but unfortunately you can't help but get your feet or hands dirty. So you kind of have to facilitate a couple of crime lords or 2. And as we know in many stories as well, crime lords always think, if you're not going to cooperate with us, there can always be another mayor. So Thomas Wayne This is what I mean. He turned a blind eye, hence the Riddler, the sins of your father, scratching out the eyes in all the photos. You get what I mean, guys. It's all coming together. It's all connected. But also, since we do know that the Batman is charging in there, as you see in Australia, he's like smacking the crap out of the goons like we've seen in other parts. Oswald's like, oh yeah, you know, sweetheart and stuff. Well, Falcone could be going like that to the Batman. The Batman could have literally made his way through to talk to the crime boss, Carmine Falcone, and Carmine, being the way he is, could just be like, hello, hey, you know, it's nice to finally meet you face to face. And that could pertain to one of the other trailers where Batman's kind of holding him like this from behind and escorting him in of what I thought could have been a precinct. And he's like, you think I'm scared of that mask or whatever, cape? It doesn't scare me, blah, blah, blah. So you get what I mean. It could be all connected again. And you may have heard this already, but this shot of Batman saving this citizen, this is probably the sunrise. So, like, a big part of the last act of the movie is probably going to be at night, you know, the flooding happens and everything like that, but by the end, it will probably end on a sunrise of Gotham, like a new day. Batman has conquered the Riddler. Yes, there's a lot of damage, there's a lot to recoup from, so to speak, but the people will see their symbol of hope. Batman is a symbol of frickin' terror to the criminals of Gotham, but to the people, this shot personifies Batman to them. That is what it is, and Matt Reeves gets it. This is what I mean. I could ramble about this shot forever, but I think I've just said it all there. I don't need to add on to that. This is how they, like, look upon this city. Maybe it's all over. Maybe it's been captured, but he saved someone. It's amongst the sunrise. There's so much you can read out of this. A new sunrise could also mean, like, this could be like another chapter for Bruce Wayne after, like, going through this crucible, you could say, from the Riddler. You can tell that some heads are starting to turn as this vigilante that people have heard about in the newspapers. And by this point of the movie, they would have seen the live stream from the Riddler with this vigilante that the Gotham Gazette or whatever news channel basically advertising on the big screens of Gotham, as we're about to get into in the other trailers. So yeah, you know what I mean? They see him and they think, hey, this guy isn't something to be scared of. He is here for us. But the criminals, that will be a whole different other meaning. They will be so scared of him. At this part, we get a view of a stadium, guys, getting flooded. And wow, look at that damage. And all of these poor people are about to get swept up in that flood. They might be okay, but like with the force of the sea coming in like that, there's a big chance quite a few people could drown and stuff. So that's really tragic to imagine. Like, imagine if you're just like attending this game or whatever it is that the stadium is holding, and people are about to get engulfed in water. That's just horrible. Like, I just feel bad for all the people there. We get another angle of Penguin coming out of the warehouse, you know, and this is connected to even the very first DC Fandom trailer where Batman goes there with Selina. And, you know, this is from the other trailers when he's like, hey, vengeance, you think you could scare me? He's like, in this part, he's just spraying his Uzi or whatever as soon as he comes out of the warehouse or whatever that place is. But we do know that basically Oz is going to be pretty scared, and I think this will link to the scene of where he's like, you two are quite the duet. We see Batman here basically kicking the crap out of all the fake Riddlers, because that's probably the last act of the last confrontation with the Riddlers. One of them will be Edwin Ashton potentially, or maybe this is even before he's in Arkham State Hospital. It's quite hard to put together where and what order those scenes go in, but this is around about the time of the flooding, but we see that he keeps kicking them off, and I was thinking, oh wait, this isn't one of those things where the filmmaker, as much as I love Matt Reeves, doesn't take into account how they could fall to their deaths, but it's like, oh yeah, it is kind of flooded, so Batman's just kicking them off, and they're like, whee, and then they dive into the water, and they'll be fine, I guess, unless they get knocked out, and then fall in the water, and then obviously, if you're knocked out in water, what could happen then? You know what I mean, if they're face down, yeah. Okay, we don't think about that. Stop asking questions. And I love it when Selina's just like, don't you ever just say hello. And already at this point, they've got this personable kind of chemistry. I mean, obviously they have chemistry there anyway, but Selina's almost a bit giddy. It's just like, vengeance, you know, don't you ever just say hello kind of thing. But I like how that's probably a little hint for how Batman just really quietly just appears. And he's like, Selina. And she's like, wait, A, where did you come from? And B, don't you ever just say hello? But yeah, that is the end of this one, guys. And that took a while for me to get through, obviously, because that's like the most largest, coolest one that a lot of people are agreeing on. That only, I think, dropped out last night in terms of TV spots. But we need to move on to the other ones because, God, this video is getting on and I haven't even touched number 2 yet. Up next, guys, let's tackle that very, 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 very quick clip of the Wingsuit video. Now, Warner Brothers UK, well, basically this is everywhere, has tweeted out this, and it is the scene of when Batman has, you know, activated the wingsuit and flies away from the GCPD because for some reason they're after him. Whether that's Commissioner Pete Savage, if he's dead or not at this point, they're after him. We get to see exactly how the wingsuit works. Now, I've been saying since the beginning, I was always wondering, like, does it, I don't get it. If he was just to go up there and put it on like this, right, okay, right, okay, well, A, where does he get it from? And that takes quite a while to get into. So I was then thinking, okay, is there zippings along the side of the front of the cape? But then when I looked closer, it looked a bit more like stitching. So I was like, okay, it can't really be that. But then I was thinking maybe under the cape, despite it going down like a cape, it might be kind of like folded. So like somehow it still wraps around. But again, I couldn't put together how it freaking came on properly because it did seem like, where does it come from? And a lot of us were getting along the line of thinking of what actually happens here. But what I love about this batsuit is it seemingly does come across low-tech in areas, but it comes across also very charming of that of like Batman the Animated Series, where this is grounded, don't get me wrong, but these are the fantastical elements I think people like Matt Reeves and whatnot and Jeffrey Wright were on about, and that's why we could get the villains like Clayface and stuff, but that's another thing for another time, and I've gotten to that in other videos. But here, this is technically unrealistic, but it's a piece of technology that, you know, isn't available to commercial markets, as we've got into from the prequel information that Wayne Enterprise works on. So what he has here is something they've probably got where he pulls the tab and it basically instantly engulfs him from, it looks like it comes from the cape. I don't know. I have got it slowed down on screen, but you still see it's like it intuitively knows to this technology come over Bruce's torso and like buckle itself to get it here. And it does the same everywhere. And I'm guessing, obviously, he would have tested this a billion times before just doing that and then being willing to jump off a roof. But I just am absolutely in awe of the technology that he has, because it makes sense more than, I would say that the Nolan one was more unrealistic. I mean, it was cool, but the way it kind of just went like that. This one seems just what Matt Reeves is striving for, to be a bit more practical. It was something rips, and thus it kind of just goes around him, so to speak, and then just combines together from the cape. So yet again, I love how everything on this suit is so freaking practical. And then, as you guys know, it just basically engulfs him, and there is the wingsuit. There's not too much more to say about this other than we then see him gliding. The camera angles are absolutely incredible. The speed you get with the wingsuit, if you just type in, if you haven't seen wingsuit videos before, you gain a lot of speed. So I have always been wondering, how is he going to land? Where is he going to land? Is he going to have a bit of a rough landing, which would be fair enough, because even though he knows how to do this probably through training across the world before, like we've gotten to in the prequel book, he's very competent on how to do this, but at the end of the day, how is he going to land? What is he going to land on? When he's on the street, are people just going to be like, hey, you're Batman? He's like, oh, bye. You know, I don't know. But the shots are amazing, and you can really see the speed. Up next is the Falcone Good Man TV spot, so let's play that one. That Batmobile. Ah, the fear in Oz's eyes, man. Riddler's asking for you. I knew it was coming.
Why is he writing to you?
Why is he writing to you? That laugh.
Riddler's latest. It's all about the Waynes.
You'd be surprised, but even a good man is capable of it.
You lied to me, Alfred. My whole life. We all have our scars, Bruce. Maybe this is all coming to an end. The Batman.
Now, looking at this, we've already spoke about everything, basically, you know, why is he writing to you, the Batmobile revving up, Oz looking terrified in previous videos. If you want to see me cover those spots, check them out. So I don't want to repeat myself too much here. But the part that fascinates me most is what Falcone says to Bruce Wayne. Now, this shot of Bruce, where his hair is very in front of his eyes. This is the kind of Kurt Cobain-y shot they released with Empire that you're seeing on screen right now. It's from that same scene, and it looks like Bruce is in the same environment as where Falcone's offices are. So that's why I was saying earlier, maybe he's welcoming in Bruce Wayne. Granted that Falcone seems to have a bit of a coat on. Maybe Falcone, this is at the end of the scene, and where he's put on this coat is saying like, right, I need to get off now. But perhaps leaves him with one last word. You'd be surprised with what even a good man is capable of. Now, granted, you can see a little bit of a different location with like the cityscape in the background. That could just be a window, so still in the office. But either way, he's talking to Falcone here. And Bruce looks really, he's looking him in the eye. I like that. Like, even as Bruce, I think he's trying to show Falcone he's not intimidated of him. And there's so much you can read in between the lines here. This is what I love so much about just TV, film, just cinema and everything. A good portrayal sometimes doesn't need much dialogue. I know I'm getting a bit on a tangent now, but you can read so much through what a portrayal can do, you know? And here, when you're just seeing Pattinson's, well, Bruce mode, looking at Falcone, I do believe that this could be that moment, as I said earlier, where he learns about the Thomas Wayne thing, and he takes it back to Alfred after the tower gets bombed and he's in the hospital or whatever, and he confronts him with it. And he's like, all these years, Alfred, you lied to me all my life. And that is like, Alfred's like, shit, man. As we're about to get into in some other TV spots, there are photos of Thomas Wayne and Falcone, sorry, not Alfred. Well, obviously there would be photos of them, but Falcone together. So I really do feel like, without repeating myself too much more, they have had some kind of connection in the past. And you have to think he's turning a blind eye when he was running for mayor. Like, obviously, the crooks and cronies of the Gotham underworld want to have their thing in place with the next mayor. Or maybe they wanted to help endorse Thomas Wayne for his mayoral run. And Thomas Wayne was like, yeah, you can do that for me. I go, okay, maybe I will turn a little bit of a blind eye. I'm still a good man, but maybe I will let you slide. Just don't do anything too stupid, Falcone. But doesn't mean Thomas Wayne was rotten. I do think that this could lead to a theory that even though we don't know, or Bruce doesn't know who killed the Waynes, that's another thing. If you haven't seen my prequel video, check it out. The killer is still out there. In this iteration, it might not even be Joe Chill or whatever, but regardless, as a result of whatever Thomas Wayne may have changed his mind on, it makes you think Maroni, who was the top dog back then, and not actually Falcone. Maroni was at the top of the Gotham underworld game. Could have sent and dispatched, or maybe it was Falcone since we've seen those photos, might have gone against his word, sent a crook, randomer, low-life, Joe Chill-esque kind of thug to kill both of them. It's like, well, again, as I said, there can always be a new mayor. Oh, you're not complying with what we talked about, what we wanted? Bang. Dispatch a killer, some lowlife to do it, and that's what got the Waynes killed originally. It was because of their own corruption. Granted, they weren't the most corrupt people or even an indent of it, but Thomas would have done something where he entered the paddling pool that of these other crooksters, you know what I mean, that he was getting way over his head in. And as a result, he had a massive oversight with that. If he went against that, he would be putting his family in danger. And I do really think that this could be connected. May not be solidified, but Bruce could learn that the thing that maybe got Thomas and Martha killed was Thomas getting in bed initially with Carmine Falcone, hence Riddler finding out about this somehow and wanting to expose the sins of your father, Bruce. And again, Bruce has no idea about that. Alfred did, though, but kept it because he thought, look, you know, clearly Thomas, maybe I tried talking to him at the time, but he said it'd be kind of, not a ride, but like, it's nothing to worry about too much, Alfred. You can't really operate in this city without some kind of line of communication with people like Maroni and Falcone. As a result, there are a couple sins of the father that were committed because of what Thomas was getting involved in. Again, I want to stress it doesn't necessarily make Thomas Wayne to be a cesspool of filth like Maroni and Falcone in terms of what they do in Gotham. It really doesn't. It just means he may have got in bed thinking that he could navigate it, right? That's what it could be, but it ended up getting them killed. And Bruce maybe learns that, and it's just like, imagine learning that your father did something that, as a result, just tore apart their family, getting him and his wife, poor Martha, murdered. That's a really horrible thing to learn about. And then learning that Alfred was keeping that, because obviously Alfred's like, I just wanted to protect you maybe. You know, I didn't want you to know about your father. He was a good man, Bruce, but like, even he, when running for mayor, had got involved in this stuff. So I'm going to stop rambling about this now, but I just wanted to really highlight how key this conversation could be between Carmine Falcone and Bruce Wayne, because I love the interaction of what Falcone could be like with Bruce here. Like, maybe there's some kind of modicum of respect there. So I knew your father, kid, but he's looking at him like, still, I knew your dad. And then he got mixed up in the bad game kind of thing. But, you know, I just can't wait to see this scene. One more thing on the end of that is it just highlights Bruce's, you know, he's a good man, but, you know, you'll be surprised what a good man is really capable of or whatever. And it cuts to Bruce just punching. And that is from the perspective of whoever's being punched. And he is just so in his blind rage there. And it shows what a good man, Batman, is quite literally capable of, almost killing someone. And that could be the really big thing that kind of, and that could be what Selina's looking at, how horrified she is in one of the other trailers when he's just punching the crap out of someone. It's like, Bruce, you're gonna kill him if you carry on. Now, the next trailer is one of the really cool new ones, and here, well, yeah, I'm just gonna let it speak for itself.
I hope you're listening, Bruce Wayne. I'm just here to unmask the truth.
mayor, the commissioner, murdered. The Riddler's latest. It's all about the Waynes.
Gotham needs you to answer for the sins of your father.
Wow. Here we
He will go.
What have you done?
You'll see.
What have you done? Yeah. Hell yeah.
This is all coming to an end. What is? The Batman.
Damn. I got you. Oz is just like, it was at this moment he knew he fucked up. But yeah, this trailer shows so much. So at the beginning, guys, we have the Riddler picking up, like a little kind of scrapery tool thing, and that's kind of what his writing lies with in the mayor's blood. Like at this point, compared to the prequel, where it really does set up this Edward Nashton, he's delved even further down, and you can see how organic that kind of descent into what he's doing happens from the prequel. So again, check out that video if you know what I mean. Hearing stuff like this where he's like, I hope you're listening, Bruce Wayne, makes me think he doesn't know the identity. He doesn't know that they are the same person. So that really makes me happy. It really, 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 really does, because we were going back and forth on that for quite a while over the past year or so of coverage and when we got a little bit more clues as to maybe he does, but he would just say to the Batman and then to Bruce Wayne, why would he do that separately unless he didn't know? So that's good news, at least for those who didn't want to know Riddler to know about Batman's secret identity being Bruce Wayne. Now, this next part, we do know that this live stream is being watched by tons of people in, like, I guess the heart of the city of Gotham, where they have the big screens there playing the news. We see a lot of people supporting Bella Real's mayoral candidacy, but they're watching it. And initially here it says serial killer live streams, but then they change it to with vigilante, because Batman accepts the call from Gil Coulson in the cathedral, and he's also on screen as well. So like that's playing out between Riddler and the Batman in Gotham, and I love how theatrical that is, because a lot of the time sometimes Gotham is an audience to something going on with the Batman and one of his Rogues Gallery members. That's amazing with how Matt Reeves set that up here. But granted, that's not to rule out there might be multiple live streams, so this could be one before the serial killer live streams with vigilante. And it could pertain to what Riddler was saying at the beginning of this, I hope you're listening, Bruce Wayne. He could be putting a message out there for his next victim, because we know literally Bruce Wayne is one of the people that he's after. And again, I know I keep plugging this, but if you watch my prequel novel video getting into the whole prequel details, you'll know the way he views Bruce Wayne and how he is a part of all of this too, other than even beyond just the link to his father, who was a part of the corruption of Gotham. Now, in one of the other trailers, we saw that Wayne Tower, right at the penthouse, it is smoking. And here, with the very gothic-y kind of architecture, I love that. In the prequel novel, just to give you a little bit of bonus information here, he lived in Wayne Manor to when he was 6, and then they moved from Wayne Manor to Wayne Tower into the penthouse. So that's why, just adding all of this in there. From 6 to 10, Bruce lived with his mother and father in this area, which is why the Waynes probably, kind of designed it in still a very kind of richy, gothic-y kind of way. But either way, it blows up, and maybe Alfred is in there, and that's why he ends up in hospital, which I'm pretty damn confident happens. The thing is here, they do give away, even though I've been saying it for the longest time, Selena's like the mayor, the commissioner, they're both murdered. It's like, oh. So it's just like, what about all the people who watched the film, see the commissioner, and didn't want to see that, or know that? Again, this is the problem with TV spots. This is why I said around about now, they are giving away too much in that sense. I'm a bit of mixed feelings about it, because for me, someone who's been covering this, even before the TV spots, where there was only just one main trailer, I was like, the Commissioner Pete Savage is going to die through the Riddler. Undoubtedly, he's corrupt. Bang, he's dead. Now, that's not me being cocky, it's always been obvious to me. But to all the general audience out there, if they see this on a pre-roll of a YouTube ad or whatever, it's just like, oh, thanks for telling me that, I guess. Even though it does advertise the plot, and it's like, oh, look at what Batman and Selina are kind of up against. The mayor, the commissioner, they're dead. I get it. But I feel like, we got that message already just with the original trailers of the mayor dying and that Riddler's going after people. They didn't have to detail exactly who. That's just a bit of like a constructive criticism of their marketing here, even though the marketing is still kind of low-key amazing at the same time. Again, this is a good example of the people who are following the Riddler. Like, at the end of the day, he's live streaming to Gotham. He is going to reach out to some people through killing corrupt police commissioner. Citizens have already probably been rallying saying, he's corrupt. Look at what he just let slide. Look at this case case that he let slide. Look at this district attorney. He let this case slide. He's being paid off. That's why we have photos of Pete Savage taking payments from people. Like, people are resonating with this. So Riddler, you know, arguably he's doing it in a very sadistic way. I've said this again and again. He's gotta reach out to people and they're gonna agree with him. Some people are thinking when it gets to that Batcave part, when you hear that it could be the Batman ego thing, because I've been saying for a long time, what if we do get with Matt Reeves talking about Batman ego being a huge inspiration? Way back then, we thought it could be the hallucinogenic kind of drops drug that will be featured in this movie. There's this drug going around known as the drops, and maybe that could be his, you know, inner beast Batman coming out, just like the Batman ego comic, where he has this kind of crisis and he establishes that he doesn't kill. But I do think that this is the Riddler, given the next part of audio, his voice modulator, whatever it is, does seem to be going kind of up and down a little bit, because it does connect to like the whole Bruce, Gotham needs you to answer for the sins of your father. But I do kind of get and I dig how people were thinking maybe that Bruce is like the internal monologue of the Batman, and that could still be possible. It could still be possible. Not that this is that, but I'm just saying in some other dialogue or part of the movie, we'll have to wait and see. It could be even a dream. And obviously at this point, it's going to be so interesting to me because we get extended shots of Bruce putting his visual mind map of investigation in. Like, this is how much this case is living rent-free in his head, because he does have a whole Batcave to do this in. But even in his penthouse now, he is spray painting the clues. It's living in his mind so much that, why is he teasing the sins of my father? And this is what I mean, the interesting part of it is that Alfred could just tell him, but he's obviously keeping it a secret, and he finds out through Carmine Falcone, probably. Like, I can't guarantee that, but you see what I mean? Like, Alfred's around at this point, and we might get shots of Andy Serkis' face. So pay attention to this when we watch the film for the first time. If we see his face, like, in these moments, like Master Bruce, and he looks at it, and then Alfred looks away, like, you know why. It's because he's keeping it from him. And that would be really interesting. Now, this next part that you hear here, I can't quite figure it out, because Batman, as I said earlier, is like, what have you done? He asks him, and he's getting increasingly frustrated, and it links with that other part where he's like, what have you done? He asks it again, and that's when he's like, you know, that internal boiling kettle is like, what have you done? But at this part of the trailer, he's just like, he will go home, or whatever. But I can't figure it out. It sounds like he's saying he will. I can guarantee that. But what's the next part? It's like, go home? No, I don't think it is. What is it? I don't know. But either way, I don't think it's that massively important. But the main thing I wanted to concentrate on is we get another front look of Edward Nashton, but the way they line up the shot here makes the Riddler seem so scary. Like, and it really is creepy, because the way Edward Nashton is coming through the Arkham State Hospital door there, and the lights coming through, you can just slightly get a look at his glasses, and the sun just gleaming a little bit of a gap on his pupil. And it is just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Maybe I'm brightening it up in like the post of this video so we could get an even better look. But he's flexing here on Batman. Like, even though he's been caught, it's, again, the very Seven-like moment of serial killer wants to get apprehended, because all of this is his game still, even when he's in cuffs. The next part I want to talk about when Bruce is like, maybe this is all coming to an end. And then later Jeffrey Wright Gordon's like, what is? And he's like, the Batman. And I don't know if that's two parts of different lines where Bruce is just saying the Batman, like we're looking at the clue board, because I guarantee this is what the shot of when Jim and Batman are looking at the clue board, and then we have all of these clues. I think this is when they finally found the Riddler's apartment or place. Maybe he is actually saying no, maybe this is all coming to the end, the Batman, because for some reason or another he thinks that it could end with him, because we do know in other trailers, if you connect to this scene, he says, I think I'm his last target. But again, that's where we got into the thinking of, does Riddler know who Bruce Wayne is? Because why would Batman be saying that? Because on that board, it's got clippings of Batman, but also, you know, Bruce Wayne. So it's a bit, some people are saying it's a bit too close for comfort for how these identities are very obvious to figure out on that board. We're gonna have to wait and see ultimately for the movie there. We really do. But maybe he is actually viewing, like, maybe Batman, me as Batman, is his last target. But then it's like, good luck, Riddler, trying to get me as in Batman mode. Like, that's quite hard to do. Bruce Wayne's more of an easy target, I suppose, in the minds of other people. But, like, trying to go for the Batman is just like, how do they know? Where do they know? Why do they know where the Batman would be? So this is a very ambiguous thing for me to break down. But it's a very cool teaser. It's like, maybe all of this is coming to an end. It's like, what is the Batman. By the way, we get another extended shot of Jim restraining Batman in that moment from the first original DC Fandom trailer. Now, what I love about this moment is we never really like solidified what was going on, but you can see that that cop said something to Batman that in this high pressure part of the movie, Batman just loses it. Like, I'm gonna whack you. I'm not gonna kill you, but what you just said triggered me and I'm gonna go after you, because you can literally see that Jim tries to stop him, but this other cop, Bruce is going for him. I wonder what he says. Maybe he says, I don't know, this is your fault or something. Accuses him of something. Maybe this could be a part of the reason as to why the cops begin to go after him, because Jim's like, you need to get out of here because I cannot hold them off you after what you just did. Like, go. And that's when the cops start pursuing him and it's out of his control. That's quite a leap of, speculation. But what I do love about this is that cop is, imagine how terrified you'd be of the Batman coming after you, but how ballsy he must be to taunt him. All right, and I might make this the last one. I've still got a couple more to go, but this video is going on. And this one really does put together even more of what I was referencing earlier.
The hell are you supposed to be?
All right, so,
Vengeance.
yeah, okay.
You're becoming quite
What
a
celebrity.
celebrity.
Okay, so we're going throughout it here, walking throughout the Iceberg Lounge.
Bruce Wayne.
Unmask the truth.
Oh, this guy's hilarious.
Come on, Vengeance.
I love that shot of him gliding. Absolutely brilliant.
Are you just hideously scarred?
Yeah.
Okay, so a very, very quick one. So the things that catch my eye is they advertise here very, very quickly. What the hell are you supposed to be? And everyone's saying vengeance, vengeance, vengeance. He is also known as Batman. We do know that for a fact. Right here, this is one of the fake Riddlers unmasked. So it's just one of his goons, and he just says vengeance in whatever conversation is happening. Maybe he's asking him, what's the bigger plan here? Like, where's Riddler? Like, what is going on? But you can clearly see the glasses there, how that is meant to be like a peeled back Riddler mask. Again, speaking to the larger Thomas Wayne connection, Riddler says to Bruce, this is your legacy, Bruce Wayne. I'm here to unmask the truth. Again, pertaining to how he's not after Batman and Bruce Wayne being the same person. He's just after Bruce, saying like, you need to pay for the sins of your father. Like, this is your legacy. And, he's going to make another example out of him, just like he has anyone else. Here we get it, guys. The clip of Thomas Wayne with Falcone. With Falcone giving him quite a big smile. So it says, of the father. And that's fascinating to me because it's on the Gotham City 1 news channel. Explosive new Riddler video goes viral. Killer message has over 12 million views. So, theory time here. Riddler uploads kind of like a video that I've edited and put this together now for you, but gives it to the news. And it's his reel of exposing the people he's killed. Now, I wouldn't call it quite justifying his murders of what he's trying to do to the Gotham City 1, to the people of the city, but at least what he's trying to do is I've killed these people because of this reason, and he annotates, just like how I annotate these videos with video clips, his dialogue in the video, his commentary, if you will, with the evidence. So here you can see Thomas Wayne, the ex-mayoral candidate, with Falcone. This is what he did here. And what I'm trying to say is maybe the whole of Gotham, as well as Bruce, finds out that the Waynes were corrupt, plus everyone else is corrupt, but with the evidence that the Riddler proves as advertised from the Gotham City 1 news channel, which is insane. And that might be why, by the way, that part in the trailer where we see the news lady in the background, the presenter, and Alfred saying, "Dear God." Could be that moment of him reacting to, oh my God, they're exposing what Thomas was involved in, amongst everything else about his evidence with the mayor, Commissioner Pete Savage, District Attorney Gil Colson. Riddler, again, doing very bad things, murdering people. Not the way you should go about doing this, but proving what he had on them was completely and utterly true. Here as well, we can figure out exactly what Mitchell means on Bruce's little visual paint sprayed mind map on the floor. It says, Don's done it again. Mayoral Mitchell Jr. Something. So basically Mitchell was a former mayor as well. Basically, again, sponsored and endorsed by Maroni, which is, basically everything I was saying beforehand. We get an extended shot of Bruce in his wingsuit actually gliding. This is such a cool shot. I love it. Just the, the adrenaline that must be going through his head in that moment as he's gliding between buildings and trying to not go splat. If any of you have played GTA parachuting and accidentally splatted into a freaking lamppost, you know exactly what I mean. I love this shot of Bruce in the Batman armor here. He just looks so good. We get a wider shot of the Batmobile in the pursuit of probably Oswald there. Again, I think I'm going to end it there, guys. There is a couple more, basically, where there's monologue from Batman's journal, I believe, where he's basically saying, fear is a tool They think I'm hiding in the shadows, watching, waiting to strike. But I am the shadows. And I think that could go into, I am the vengeance. I am the Batman. And that kind of comes into the last line of the prequel novel where he basically says that, which, again, I kind of debated, is that actually meant to be strictly translated to the movie where he says, I am the shadows, I am vengeance, I am the Batman. It could be, but again, Matt Reeves might not choose to opt to put that in his but movie, because could come off maybe too cheesy for like that dialogue, but you might say it separately, but I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see, but I love it, but there's not really too much to say about that promo in of itself. But guys, I think that's it from me today. I know there's more, there's interviews I can get into, but at the same time, I've got to exist. I'm not complaining though, I love doing this, just bear with me as I'm getting the content out, breaking down the, notes I'm taking from the interviews. I also do not just cover the Batman on this channel, so people who are messaging me, trust me, I love getting that encouragement. I just do know that I'm covering it, but just can't literally upload it all at once. I don't have an editor. I do edit this all myself. An hour-long video like this does take a long time to edit, especially with the amount of speech mistakes I make. Getting the right relevant video clips, putting it over the stuff, and then, then covering other videos. It takes a while, but just know that I am on top of it, and that the videos will come. They will come when they come. So just thank you for being patient with me. I really do appreciate that, and I appreciate your support. It means that you want to see more of my content, and that makes me really, really happy. So again, thank you so much for watching, guys. Give this video a like, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Again, just want to stress, there's going to be more videos going into the sequel. We've got more confirmation from Pattinson saying, he's spoken to Matt Reeves about a trilogy. It's going to happen. And then we've still got the HBO Max coverage, so, the Bat video is going to be alive on this channel for years to come in this universe that is really, blossoming out to be an actual cinematic universe in of itself, contained within Bat stuff, if you know what I mean. But ladies and gentlemen, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram as well. I do have links to that in the description down below. But again, just really appreciate your support. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you, Bat family, in the next video. Goodbye.